What is going on, Hawks Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the HawksFanTV podcast brought to you by Alex and Mac. And today we have a very special guest, Adnan Ikic, the leader of the Hawks six-man section, or should I say the notorious six-man section of none other than our favorite ball club, the Atlanta Hawks. So, we're excited to have him. Adnan, welcome to the show, man.
I'm happy to be here. I didn't know we were that notorious, honestly.
Oh,
Hey,
you guys have developed a little name online, man.
you guys got a little reputation. You guys have gone viral on Twitter a few times. So, yeah, I'd say
Always
so.
fun. So it's always fun seeing that happen, honestly.
Oh yeah, doing the Lord's work over there. So before we get into it, I will say, as I'm wearing a six-man section shirt, I've actually been in the six-man section a few times with Adnan. And if you guys have ever been in the arena and seen it or been a part of it, because I know there are some interchangeable pieces in there, guys, it is one of the most hyped things in all the sports. I literally have lost my voice every single time I go, and we are just screaming the entire time. This man comes up with the greatest chance in the world. We'll get into that a little more in the interview. But guys, this is truly one of the cooler, more unique things that the Hawks have. So I'm really excited to have Adnan on here and get to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. I remember the games you came to. I hope we won them, honestly, but
Undefeated is,
undefeated, all right, well, we need to get you back in there for a few more then in that case.
hey man, twist my arm, you know. But like I said, Adnan, we won't keep it too long. We'll go ahead and get into it real quick here. First question, man, just kind of starting back at the beginning of it. When did the six-man section start, and how did its creation kind of come about?
So, full disclosure, the section did start a few years before I joined it. I would have been too young to join it in either way at that point. Start of it was in 2010. So I think the Hawks took some inspiration from Milwaukee's fan section. I don't know if you guys remember, but when the Hawks played the Bucks in the playoffs, way back when during the Joe Johnson era, they won that first round. Um, the Bucks had a fan section called, I think it was Sector 6 or Squad 6. It was created, I think, funded by Andrew Bogut, their, great Australian center back in those days. And I think the Hawks took some inspiration from that, and they they asked an intern at the time, Drew, to, sort of take on this project to bring some people together, and to create sort of a college atmosphere type section. And honestly, I don't think anyone predicted that it would become what it is today. But I do know it debuted in 2010 against the Bucks in game one of the playoffs. And, from then on, the year after that, it became like a snowball effect, it turning into an avalanche to the point where now today it is a huge thing. We have tryouts every single season for anyone that wants to join the section. We're always looking for diehard Hawks fans, in the Atlanta area to sort of help us, create that home court advantage, to create that atmosphere. But yeah, the beginnings were way back in 2010, and here we are 14 years later.
I love it, man. I actually think I was at Game 7 of that Bucks series. I think that's when they had Brandon Jennings, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Man, what a time. We don't have to talk about what happened after that game seven, but
No, we don't. No, we
that
don't.
was yeah, that was a special team. Like that Joe Johnson era always has a special place in my heart for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, shout out to Joe Johnson. He was my favorite Hawks player of all time. Still
Same,
is.
same. Like it just the nostalgia of growing up, being a kid and growing up during that time. And it's just like obviously Joe was, the leader of the team, six-time All-Star in Atlanta, and in my opinion, should have his jersey hung from the rafters. But that's a separate discussion for a separate podcast, I assume.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. He inspired me because he has like these wrist tattoos, and I really wanted those when I was a kid. So yeah, shout out to ISO Joe. Speaking of the six-man section, Adnan, you mentioned you guys have tryouts every year. What does that process look like, and how big is the six-man section today? Because I know you guys did some resizing recently. It was bigger from what I understand before, then you guys had to cut it down. So yeah, shed a little bit more light into that, please.
So the tryouts process used to be a two-parter. Well, a three-parter if you count the survey. So everyone who wants to try out fills out a survey, tells us a little bit about it themselves, why they're such a big Hawks fan, why they should be in the group, who their favorite Hawks player is, their favorite Hawks moments, just relevant questions like that. And back in the day, it used to be sort of the first part was an American Idol type audition where, you walk in front, you walk solo, or, if you have like a duo type, thing with someone in front of a panel of judges, and you get rated from a scale of 1 to 5 based on how crazy you are, or based on how creative you can be. And that's a little bit more nerve-wracking being solo. And then the second part would be going to a home preseason game and doing exactly what we do in every single regular season game. You stand, you cheer. You do have a number on your back to distinguish who's who, and the judges pretty much rate you on how hype you are. Since COVID, we pretty much scraped away the first part, the American Idol part, and now today the tryout process is pretty much filling out that survey and then coming to a preseason game, complimentary home preseason game, and just getting as hyped as you can, and trying to showcase that you are one of the people that should be in the section throughout the season.
That's awesome. That's awesome. This topic hits a little close to home because yeah, like years ago, I think I was like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, I applied and I filled out the survey. Never got an email back from them, so that kind of stung. But oh well, that's really interesting on the process and the approval. How big is it? Like how many people are in the six-man section right now?
There's over 100 now. Uh, I mean, there's been what we normally keep the number, you know, there's no set there's no set number, but it's just based on how many people try out. If you Everyone has to try out every single year, even if even if you've been part of the group for years, everyone has to come to the preseason game, has to go through that process. Uh, I think the numbers are in the 110s, 120s currently. The group used to be, a little bigger, as you mentioned. It used to be 5 rows in the lower bowl. Now we have 3 rows, but that's just sort of gives us that more responsibility that, all right, we are, a little smaller, but that means we just have to get, even more energetic, and we have to sort of, make up for the lower numbers. And, we have to showcase that we are, we can do this no matter what the numbers are.
Exactly. And then just to piggyback, last question, point to that question before I pass it over to you, Mac, is I heard there was a like requirement, like if you don't attend X amount of games, if you get accepted into the six-man section, like you're pretty much cut out and replaced, or is that not true?
No, there isn't a minimum games requirement, but what we do have is a requirement regarding if you go to more games, you'll be prioritized for the bigger games, because, everyone wants to come see the Lakers, everyone wants to come see the Warriors, everyone wants to come to the playoffs, and, have over 100 people. You don't have over 100 seats. We keep a little running tally. So basically, the people who have come to the most games will get those tickets to those high profile games. Like, if you want to come see LeBron on a Friday night, you have to come see the Hornets on a Wednesday night, type thing. So, we try to reward, members who come as frequently as possible.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's great insight. Mac.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, so next question, Adnan, for you. As we were mentioning earlier in the episode, you guys have honestly gone viral a few times here recently with some of your chants. I think the one that comes to my mind is the one for D'Lo. That one was absolutely hilarious. Because it's true, we do not want him. So, but I gotta ask, man, who comes up with these chants, and what does the approval process look like, if any?
So that's actually the cool thing about it. There's no like official approval process about it. It's basically just someone's stepping up to the free throw line and someone just comes up with a chant in the moment. I've come up with a lot of them. I follow along with as much NBA drama as I can and, try to get some of that ammunition. And some players make it really easy to give that ammo a little bit. But basically, as a player stepping up to the free throw line, someone will just, sort of check in with me in the moment and be like, hey, like, let's chant this. And if it makes sense, if it's funny and if it's catchy, then, we'll start chanting it. Obviously, we are ambassadors to the Atlanta Hawks, so you can't really just chant anything. There's some stuff that, there's some lines that you don't cross, but a lot of the on court stuff is fair game. If a player is dating a Kardashian, like that's obviously fair game. But yeah, like that's the cool part about it. Like there's nothing rigid about it. It's so free flowing, and it's just basically all right, like let's come up with this in the moment. There's a couple of members that are really good at it as well. I'm going to shout them out. Cordero Patrick, Mike Dawkins, who are both longtime members, of the section. They're both really good at coming up with chants as well. But yeah, like we have a think tank of a bunch of people, and if someone comes up with something creative, then we'll fire away with it.
I love it, man. That's what makes it so great is it's organic. It's in the moment. It's human beings doing what we're supposed to do, man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Um, real quick, to piggyback on that one a little bit, I have to know, as I said, my favorite, which chant or chants rather, have been your favorite in the past? The ones where you're like, man, that just felt so good to get that guy like that.
Man, there have been a few, honestly. Whenever a LeBron team is in town, those always have a higher chance of going viral just because, the national media is there, all eyes are on it. Remember a few years ago, it sticks out in my mind, it was the 2016 season. It wasn't at LeBron, but he was, with the Cavs. And I remember every single time one of his teammates went to the line, we chanted LeBron will trade you because this was the Le GM era. I think it was
yeah.
it may have been, even just past the trade deadline or just before the trade deadline. It's been a little bit of time, but I remember coming up with that chain and that one went viral. Like it was actually, so cool looking down and seeing the Bleacher Report notification of, oh, Hawks fans are like chanting this. Um, this year, the Lakers game, you mentioned it, the D'Lo, we don't want you. We chanted a bunch of stuff at the Lakers players throughout the night. This, this Lakers game was actually it really stuck out to me. We chanted "You're not Jordan" at LeBron. I know that may ignite some debates, some good debates. We chanted "Overrated" at Austin Reeves. Just Dallas Reject at Christian Wood. Anytime someone got to the line, we came up with something. And the reason why it sticks out so much is I think it may have even worked because the Lakers shot like 11 for 23 at the free throw line. And it's just, and we noticed their bench players all looking back at us throughout the night. So I know they heard the chant. So it's always really cool when you create a chant, when it goes viral, obviously. But the most important thing is the coolest thing is when they miss the free throw because that's what we're doing it for. We want to try to give the Hawks any sort of advantage we can, and if you save a point, if you save 2 points, then that's mission accomplished.
Hell yeah. And in the fourth quarter, man, you guys are getting people free chicken too. You're doing the Lord's work, you know?
Oh, I mean, the arena doesn't need help when it comes to free chicken.
I
Like
know
that
it gets
place
wild
gets
in
so
there, man.
loud.
If they miss that first free throw, it is about to
Yeah.
explode for that second one, man.
Anytime it's the fourth quarter, like I even tell everyone, like, all right, if we're gonna get any chance in, we need to do it before the fourth quarter because nothing's gonna be heard when it come to fourth quarter.
I love that. I love that. And you hit the nail on the head, right? Like at the end of the day, you guys are representing the Hawks. Like this is a Hawks initiative where they're giving fans free tickets to be hype all game. Uh, I wish the NBA was a little bit more lenient because like the whole six man vibe because like when we when we attend games, we all the reporters have to sit right behind the six-man section. And so you guys are literally right in front of me. And it definitely gives off that like college slash high school atmosphere where we're just throwing crazy phrases at opposing teams' players. I remember back in high school ball, we had a really star rival player had some allegations with another female student, and we just kept chanting, "No means no, no means no." So things like that. So we got pretty crazy. But obviously, you probably wouldn't be able to do that at an NBA game, which is a great segue into this question, right? Obviously, you guys are there to be hype. You guys are there to be as loud as possible. Has a Hawks employee ever said like, "Hey, you guys are acting too crazy"? Have you guys, or like maybe some chance maybe went a little over the line where they said, "Hey, you can't say that"? Anything like that happen?
Um, Not necessarily. So the Hawks employees are really they really like us. They really love what we do, and it's a lot of fun. I do have one personal example from my very when I first started, the very beginning of me in the six-man section. So basically, I do this thing after every turnover, and Mac's seen it. He's been in the section. Anytime there's a dead ball turnover, I get on the chair that I'm at, on the chair handles, and I just yell which way, and everyone says that way and points to the direction where the Hawks are going. And I do that 3 times as loud as possible. I've sort of become known for doing that in the section. So when I first started doing that, the usher came to me and she was like, "Hey, you can't like stand on chairs. You can't, it's obviously a safety thing. Um, get off the chairs." But I sort of just didn't listen, and it got to the point where I think she just gave up after a while, and lo and behold, years later, nothing's happened to me like on the chairs. I constantly get up there, I get down from there. So, that's the only instance where someone came to me and was like, "Hey, like you need to calm down with this." But, you know, she was just doing her job in that moment. I completely understand.
So that's the famous in Twitter handle, because I've always wondered where that
That's where
came.
it comes from. That's where it comes from, exactly. It's sort of it's sort of an insider type thing where it's like an if you know type thing, if you know me. But I guess I guess I've spilled the beans right now.
There you go. Awesome. Mac.
I love it, man. I love it. So this next question, man, I feel like you may feel responsible at times. But do you guys ever feel responsible, for lack of a better term there, for the energy in the arena? Like, do you kind of wear that on your back? Like, hey, man, we got to get hyped tonight because we're gonna set the tone when it comes to the crowd's energy. Like, do you feel that responsibility at all?
Every single game. I every single game. I don't think I've ever gone into a single home game, and I've been to a lot. So I've been to many, many Hawks games in the section, leading the section over the years. And every single game I go into it with this pressure on me to sort of have everyone as hyped, as focused, you know, as possible, and trying to keep everyone doing the chants, trying to keep the energy high because I mean, yeah, we are setting the tone. We are trying to create that atmosphere. We are trying to create as much of a home court advantage for the Atlanta Hawks as possible. That's what we're there for. And every single time I go into it with my goal of being, all right, the Hawks are gonna know that they're supported. The Hawks are gonna know that we're here, and no matter what the score is, we're gonna be there throughout the entire game, and we're gonna be chanting "Let's go Hawks," chanting defense, chanting anything else, and trying to sort of trying to do anything we can to give them any bit of energy, any bit of adrenaline, anything possible to sort of make any sort of a difference that we can. That's what we're there for, and especially those games, against the Lakers, against the Warriors, against Miami, where there's plenty of opposing teams fans in the building. You know, those games are where we sort of feel that responsibility more than ever of, all right, you know, the Hawks are playing at home and we need to showcase that. We have to create, we have to establish this home court advantage.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Like, I think it's awesome you guys do that because I know like the national narrative, like when it comes to Hawks fans, it's like, oh, they don't have great fans, or there's more fans of other teams, especially when like the Lakers or the Warriors come into town. So I love that. Um, has any like Hawks players, current players, past players, or anything like that, like ever reached out to you guys, or do they like recognize you guys? Do you all talk to any of those players, or is this just strictly like, hey, you guys are working with the team and the front office people, and that's it?
So basically, a cool story. Not any current players. John Collins was really cool. Anytime he would see anyone from, you know, anytime anyone would ever see him and tell them they were in the section, he would always, get so, his eyes would light up. John Collins is amazing human being. Um, in 2015. So this was right after the 61 season. Mike Muscala, he actually came to our tryouts, and
Uh,
yeah, he made a surprise appearance. Uh, didn't tell anyone, and he just showed up, sort of. And yeah, Mike Muscala has always been, he's been a six-man section favorite for sure. His dad actually was in the section for like a couple of years there. Like he came to like a bunch of games. We have those big heads. We used to have the Mike Muscala antlers big head, the play on the moose nickname. And I actually even gifted that to his dad like toward the end of his like Hawks tenure. So, made sure that that had a good home. But yeah, like Mike Muscala definitely is one who sticks out. And even to this day, whenever Mike Muscala comes as, an opposing player, we always chant his name. He always reciprocates that love. And, we always make sure that he knows that, yeah, like, we remember you, we appreciate you, and, even though you're not in Hawks colors, we still love you.
That's awesome. Yeah, Muskie was always one of my favorites too, and it's unfortunate we didn't give him more playing time. But yeah, he's always I'll always remember that playoff run when he did the little three goggles that went like viral. So I always got that for Muskie.
I'll never forget that 26-point fourth quarter comeback against the Cavs. I think that was the Dwight Howard team. That was 2017. But yeah, Mike Muscala played throughout like that fourth quarter, and I think he hit that like three to tie it toward the end of the game. But yeah, that moment definitely sticks out. But definitely shout out to Mike Muscala, huge fan favorite around these parts for sure.
No
I knew I
doubt.
loved Muscala. I knew I loved him. But Adnan, we will get you out of here on this question, man. And honestly, it's pretty simple here, man. What does the future look like for the six-man section? What plans do you guys have going forward?
I mean, we just we're taking it year by year. We're trying to be as hype as possible. We're trying to be as rowdy as possible. We always welcome, any diehard Atlanta Hawks fans who want to try out, to do so. We have, our survey is online. You can find it. If you fill out the survey, it'll come to an email, and I'll send you an email with a new survey when it gets created in August, September, around that time span. But yeah, basically, we just want to grow. We want to keep doing this as long as we can, as long as possible, and we just want to sort of, as Alex mentioned, that sort of national narrative for the Atlanta Hawks. We know it's a lazy narrative. We know that Atlanta is a great sports town. I'm seeing those games. Every single game is packed. Like every single game is filled up, no matter who the opponent is. And we just want to, sort of continue doing our part in shifting that narrative and in showcasing that, Atlanta, is a great sports town. Atlanta has great sports fans, and we sort of feel that responsibility a little bit to be on the front lines of that.
Yeah, and as because I don't know, because I know you've been doing it for a while now, and I don't know your exact age, but I'm sure like from Mac and myself, like we're getting up there in age, we're or starting to have families, marriage, things of that nature. So I'm sure you guys have to start grooming and prepping the new generation of the six-man section as the older members get up there, huh?
I mean, that's the beauty of it. There is no age limit, there's no age gap. There's people in there whom I've met, years ago when I first started the section who are also, sort of getting up there a little bit. And, we have members in their 60s, we have members in their 50s and their late teens, and it's just an awesome thing that sort of transcends, any demographic. You just have a group of people who are just completely like-minded, and that within this group, within this sort of island, in State Farm Arena, it's just you have something in common with all of them, and that's that you are willing to lose your voice every single night for the Atlanta Hawks. And there's no place we'd rather be when it comes to an Atlanta Hawks game than at State Farm Arena.
That's what
Exactly.
makes it so beautiful, man. That's what makes it so beautiful. You guys represent Hawks Nation so well, and I know you guys will keep doing that for sure. Before I let you go, though, I should have asked this earlier. I would be mad at myself if I didn't. What's the guy's name that always stares at the camera? Because every game I go to, I'm waiting for it. I know he's gonna do it at some point, and it just cracks me up every time.
Shout out. So that's one of our longtime members, Ryan Knight. Ryan Knight is his name, and yeah, that's so. If you go to a Hawks game, you see we're on the big screen once a game at least. Shout out, getting a shout out. We're on there for about 30 seconds or so as the Rift to Seven Nation Army plays, getting hype, and toward the end of it, the camera just focuses in on Ryan, and he's just staring at it, and it's absolutely hilarious. And that's also another thing that just started out completely organically. Like this was never, set up before. Nobody ever talked to Ryan beforehand of, oh, just, go do this. The camera just one day started, zooming in on him. He just started staring at it. And now it's become an every game type thing. And when Ryan's not there, someone else sort of takes that helm and does it instead. It's really cool.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. Shout out Ryan Knight. Well, like I said, Adnan, we will get you out of here on that. Thank you so much for giving us some time this evening, man. It was a pleasure getting to talk to you about the six-man section, and hopefully I can be there soon, getting wild with you guys sometime soon. But pleasure having you, man, and definitely keep up the good work.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We will get you out of here on that one. Hawks Nation, be sure to follow us at HawksFanTV on Instagram and X. Go to HawksFanTV.com to check out all of our articles. And yeah, guys, just keep up with it because we're gonna keep it up as well. So
Yeah, and also, a lot of our listeners are just Atlanta fans in general. So, Adnan, where can our listeners find you on the socials for your Hawks and Falcons takes?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, X, at Say Which Way. I think you alluded to it, my handle a little earlier, but you can also, find a lot of my work. I write for the Falcoholic.com, which is an Atlanta Falcons based website, and you can check out my Falcons takes. We do a live show every Wednesday at around 8 p.m. on YouTube, the Falcoholic Live. So, that's where I am when it comes to the Falcons. When it comes to the Hawks, you can find me in State Farm Arena every single home game. Section 122. I'm always the guy with the face paint. So if you ever see me, just feel free to come say hi.
That's beautiful. Last question, right? Just because we mentioned the Falcons. All right. I don't want to hear a reason for it. Just in your heart of hearts, who should be quarterback one on opening week one for the Atlanta Falcons? Go.
Jaden Daniels.
Let's go. Okay. I respect that answer. If you were going to say Justin Fields, I might have had to fight you, but I'm glad you didn't say that.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks so much, Anna. We really appreciate it, man.
Of course. Happy to do it. Happy to be here.